Hey y'all, and welcome back to my Open Qualifiers event. This is round 2. I've got 1 out of 1 point, and well, let's get into it. So I assume you saw the title, you'll know what's going to happen next, but d4, my opponent starts off the game with knight f6, and I enter the Jampowski attack with bishop g5. Now bishop g5, my favorite move against knight f6, it really throws these players off of their what they like to do, like knight e4 is a line, e6, g6, here, c5. Like my opponent has a lot of lines. h6 is a move. My opponent has a lot of moves here, and my opponent ends up playing the one that I think is probably the best, the one that gives black the most chances. My opponent plays e6, and I always think this is the best. Technically, this is the third best option, but it's very equal, and I think it's the most combative. So I do what I normally do. I play e4, take the whole center. Of course, if your opponent allows you to take the whole center, you're going to. It's pretty simple like that. Just as this very simple game, and my opponent plays a move that I haven't seen in a while. My opponent plays the move h6. This came as a shock to me because I've only seen h6 like a couple of times. When most people do it, h6 is the best move. It's just I haven't seen it very often. Bishop e7 is what most people play and end up actually getting in a worse position after, like, say this. But after h6, I knew that the best move is bishop takes f6, because otherwise I would just be losing my e4 pawn, and I can't have that. So of course bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, and I'm already on my own after like move 5, which is crazy. I have more theory than this in like every line. So I'm already out of my comfort zone, and my opponent is kind of already won the psychological battle of the opening. So I need to step on my gas, and I decided to play some quick moves very easily, like knight f3, very simple move. I mean, it makes sense. No one can say that it's a bad move, and my opponent plays another very interesting move. My opponent plays c5. And as you can see, c5 is a terrible move. c5 is god-awful. c5 is terrible. And the eval bar kinda does it justice. I think it's very accurate. 1.1 is probably correct, because after the move e5 and something like queen d8, I get this move d5 in, and I'm actually just crashing through here. During the game, I didn't think I was, and that's why I didn't go for this. But this is absolutely a way to play. Like, what does my opponent play here? His knight is completely trapped out. If he goes to a6, I can probably just grab it and then ruin his pawn structure, so I'm happy with that. He probably has to develop his bishop with g6 is probably the best move. But then even like, I mean, bishop c4, I mean, knight c3 is very accurate. I mean, I don't think d6 is the best move because knight c6 is possible then. So probably just knight c3 and just relax, and you're just better always, because black is just cramped on space. And I should have done this. I really should have done this. I don't know why I didn't. This is not a hard position to look at and evaluate that you're better, but instead, because it's the opening, I simply played knight c3. I was just like, okay, well, keep it simple. You don't have to do anything crazy just now. I mean, your opponent's around your level. He's pretty good. I've played him before, actually. A very interesting story. I played my opponent before. It was an awful game where we both played pretty badly and I ended up holding a draw. I think I covered it on this channel. I'm not sure. But I played him before, and he's pretty good. He got second place in the tournament that I was in, where I drew him. So I knew he was good, and I was a little bit scared. So after knight c3, I just wanted to keep it simple. And my opponent eventually thought for a while, and for some reason he thought that my idea was to put the knight on b5, and he played this move a6, which is another awful move, which is kind of the the theme of this game. Just terrible moves that should never be even considered. And now e5 again gives me a crushing advantage, and I played it. I played e5. It's the best move, but the reason why I played it isn't why I should have played it. Basically, my idea for this game, my plan for this game was just all messed up. The real plan was e5, queen d8, and d5, crashing through. That's the easiest plan, and I'm actually just like completely winning there. I should have gone for this. I should have gone for this. But sometimes I miss this type of stuff where I just have a massive space advantage. I thought these pawns would be weak if I started to push them too far. So I played e5, but the reason why was much different. The reason why is because I wanted to play knight a4 and threaten knight b6, but I didn't really want to. I didn't really think I had anything after the move queen d8. So I was like, okay, what if I play e5 while I still can with tempo? And if the queen goes back to d8, okay, knight a4 isn't going to happen. But if the queen doesn't go back to d8, if the queen like sticks around, then knight a4 is crushing, right? So I thought e5 made sense. And my opponent didn't spend much time, went back to d8. Now d5 gives me a big advantage again, but I miss it. And I ended up playing my second line because I was a little scared of the move b5 in many lines. I was scared of this move b5, right? And my opponent, what he's going to do, he's going to bishop out, right? He's going to have a pawn storm on the queen side. I'm never going to be able to castle that way. If I castle short, he has a bishop pointing over there already, so I don't really want to do that. And this just, honestly, I thought I was worse if I allowed b5. So I played a4, another bad move, and I calculated that after CD, I can actually take back with the queen, right? Because I thought that this knight was not actually as scary as it seemed. So that happened, and I recaptured with the queen, which is the best move. I'm proud of that. He goes here, and I play a bad move. The reason why I play a bad move is I didn't see his response. I play the move queen d2, which already gives him a -1 advantage, and I'm already lost. I should have gone to queen e3 immediately, and I'll tell you why I didn't do this. I thought I kind of saw a ghost after queen e3. I saw queen e3, and then I'm like, oh, but he threatens a fork on b4. Oh gosh, that's scary. Oh gosh. As you can see by my terrible voice acting, that's not scary. That's not scary at all. Why am I scared of knight b4? I can just go queen d2 and defend it. But I'm like, okay, then why am I going queen e3 and making such a big deal? So why not just queen d2 first? And I play queen d2, but I completely miss his idea, and his idea is simply queen c7. And now my queen has to move again. Has to move back to e3, which I could have done in one tempo, but instead I have to do in two. And as you can see, my position is kind of falling apart. My opponent then plays the move bishop b4, which I thought was the best move during the game. It isn't, but Stockfish is a scumbag, so we already knew that. Bishop b4 seems very natural. He's putting the knight to my king. He wants to move his knight back to e7 to put more pressure on it, and then I would be in a load of trouble. Computer says, don't care about the pawn structure. You have to play bishop d3 and allow him to do this. And allow him to do this because actually this isn't that bad. This isn't that bad because you get the b file. This pawn, although it looks weak, is actually kind of restricting his knight. And this position is fine. Actually, black is the one that's trying to break free here. Maybe I could have gone for that if I thought about it for longer, but I didn't. And I thought, oh, I'm very scared, and I ended up playing this move g3, which I thought was reasonable. I wanted to develop my bishop, but I didn't want to go bishop d3 because then he has this, and I thought that was just bad for me, although it's fine. Bishop e2 I didn't think was very good. I didn't think that's the square that the bishop needed to be on, so I didn't even consider it. And g3 I thought made sense because I'm trying to go bishop e2 and get to the long diagonal quickly. My opponent goes knight e7, threatening knight d5, and I have to respect it, so I go for this move knight d2. Again, a mistake. Computer is yelling at me to play bishop d3 and queen d4. I can understand queen d4, trying to make sure that knight d5 isn't that big of a deal, because then I would have, because then it doesn't come with tempo, and I can probably go like bishop g2 or something. And although I lose a pawn, I'm okay, kind of. I don't know. I'm also attacking the bishop, so it'd be a little awkward. And that's why it's not that bad, because I'm attacking the bishop. You can't take back with the knight, and that's why it's fine. But I play knight g2, which I thought was reasonable. My opponent goes knight f5, gets a little blue exclamation, and I go queen f4. And now I'm forced to lose a pawn. And so my opponent grabs the pawn, because they're very principled, and I defend my other pawn with rook c1. Again, another bad move. Technically, rook b1 is better because I'm just supposed to sack the pawn and then try to use like more development against my opponent. Little hard to do, little scary. Maybe I could do it. I'm not sure. I have been like dabbling in pawn sacrifices recently, but I didn't really see the point. So I just go rook c1. My opponent goes knight back to e7, and I will this move queen e4 because I realized that my opponent's simply trying to fork me. My opponent's trying to go knight g6 and take on e5, and that'd be pretty bad. And also knight c6 is another move that I need to stop. So that's why I played queen e4 with the intention of playing f4 in some lines. My opponent plays rook b8. The idea being b5 and bishop b7, very reasonable. I go rook b1 because now my pawn on c2 is defended, and I want to maybe stop b5 in some lines. But he plays it anyway. And I can't take. Because he's simply threatening this with a skewer to my h1 rook, which opened up because I played g3, the move so long ago, which was technically a mistake. Chess is hard, but either way, I go rook b3 first, hitting the queen. Queen comes back to c7, and then I have to I have to defend that. So I go knight f3, bringing my knight out a little bit, making sure that there's no skewer against the rook. And I mean, I knew I was like pretty much losing here. I mean, I'm down like a pawn. He has more development. I mean, I'm just lost. But after bishop b7, I go queen e2. My opponent takes on a4. It's a free pawn. What are you supposed to do? I go rook d3. Takes. I didn't want to take back with a queen, of course, because that would drop the c2 pawn. And I mean, I don't want to lose more material. I'm already down enough. Takes. My opponent goes queen a5. I go queen d2. Best move. Technically, I could go c3, but c3 actually loses to rook b1. And after king d2, he gets a skewer on my queen. I thought about this. I realized it lost, so I didn't play it. So queen e2 is the only move. Now queen e5, rook d3, or rook e3. The idea being that I kind of wanted to square to go with my king after rook b1 check. So rook e3, he goes rook b1 check, king e2, and my opponent plays this move queen b5 check, and I realize that I'm just completely lost. There's nothing I can do here. I mean, like, what am I even playing for at this point? It's just, I don't know. I was kind of down in the dumps here. I was kind of just very pessimistic about my position. Of course, I'm down 3 pawns. He has an outside passer. I just thought I was completely losing. So here I ended up playing the move rook d3, and I simply resigned the game. Yeah, this is a little shorter video. The game was a little shorter. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I want to cover a game per video. I think that the next game, game 3, is going to be very interesting. I hope you all stick around for that. Game 3 is also kind of shorter, but it's more like a 17-minute long video than a 13-minute long video, or however long this video is. So I hope you all still stick around for that. I now have 1 out of 2. Not a bad score. I mean, I'm kind of playing at my level here, so 1 out of 2. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. I'm really okay with 1 out of 2. Hopefully I'll win my next 2 games and do well. Hope you all stick around for that. I already know what happened since the tournament was actually only a day long, but either way, hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this instructional. All the above. Subscribe, like, you know the drill. Good evening and good night.